Happy, fun, 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 fun.
All right, so how many of the words in that game's title are accurate? Is it happy? Is it fun?
So Happy FUNLAND. It is out for PSVR 2 and PCVR only. So that alone should get me excited because this is the premium VR that I was hoping to see just hit PC and PSVR and give the middle finger to Quest 2 because like visuals, yeah. And I'll get
yeah.
And I'll get and I'll get to the graphics side of it. I will say that going into this game, I'd seen the trailers like all of you guys, and I really had no idea what this game was. So I've played the game. It's only 2.5 hours. That mileage may vary depending on how much you kind of screw around and how much you beeline. You could beeline this probably pretty quick. But I would say 2 hours, 2.5 hours is pretty much where everyone's gonna get in there. And my opinion of this game has changed in the last 24 hours because I basically blitzed it last night, which is why we don't have a full review. And so I'm going to get into this game into some depth because of that. And after playing it now, I mean, if I had to explain it, I would say it's kind of a haunted house game. You know, like the name is escaping me, but there was that other haunted house game that we had on PSVR 1.
Affected the Manor?
I was just going to say the Manor, yeah. It's kind of feeling like that, and they've thrown in some of some of the, I guess you could call it the thrills of say something like Rush of Blood, but not. And I don't want you to get excited about that because that I think some people thought that it would go there, and so I'll get into that. So it really is kind of like a walking horror simulator, and you basically enter into this completely dilapidated abandoned theme park. And I'll tell you though, I wouldn't call this like an extremely R-rated game. I didn't find it really scary. It's creepy. It's got atmosphere, but it's kind of demented. And like the reason
I like demented. You got my attention.
This is what I'm saying. The reason that this game kind of has won me over in the last 24 hours, because I was ready to burn it to the ground at first for some of its issues, was that I was like, well, man, you know what? Like, this could be a VR gem, because this is one of those games, especially like on the PSVR 1 days, where you were just like, what? What is this game? And then it was like, and it was memorable, and it was unique. And it was something that you would just never see in the flat gaming world. Like it is kind of an odd title, and it is quite adult in some of its humor. Jumping into the game, the first thing that hits me over the head, though, and this is getting into the gameplay things, and I have to address this because if you guys are watching the footage that I would imagine Ryan's throwing up there, yes, he has. Good boy. This game has click turning only.
Oof.
It has no seated play option.
Oh,
yeah, it does have a crouch, like a click to crouch thing, and I don't know if I messed it up, but somehow I managed to get it so that like when I was not crouching, I was high enough that it wasn't driving me crazy. But like still, I'm just like, and Perp Games is involved in this. I'm just like, whoa! The trigger buttons do nothing. Okay, you know when you go to grab something, you typically expect now that the grip's going to be kind of the main part of the hand and the triggers are going to be kind of that finger, and that'll be the complete grip. At least a lot of games do it that way. When you pull the triggers on this, on either the left or the right controller, you just walk forward. But it's just like they didn't know what to do with the triggers, and now they're walk buttons. Like, well, we should give them that option as well. Maybe they don't want to use analog sticks. I'm like, so in my head, I'm like, was this originally, like, was this a holdover from the PSVR 1 days? So, you get into the gameplay, and like I said, like it's a fairly basic title. It's not quite a walking simulator. It tries to do some other things, but it doesn't do them that well, and that's the problem. Like, so for example, there's like 18 holes of golf throughout the course. Essentially, the whole FUNLAND is like one big kind of like mini golf course in a way, in the fact that it's like it's just, you just go through the different holes and experience like rides, and again it's like it's an abandoned funhouse, so, or I guess theme park, and so you go, you spend your time walking through like merch areas and abandoned like food vendors and game booths and stuff. But the game, it's so underutilizes that. Like, it's got really janky physics. Like you could take a golf club and just whack a wheelchair and the wheelchair goes flying. Like it's that type of it's got that level of physics play. So going around and picking up and throwing around and playing things, because you can interact with lots of stuff in the world, is just, it doesn't feel good. It's not fun. It just the whole thing feels janky. Then you throw in the jank controls, and you're kind of always fighting the controls, and you're flipping around with your mandatory click turning, which drives me crazy. There's no run button, so you're just kind of at the game's walking speed, which changes from time to time, which is also odd. And like, don't get excited about the mini golf, because if you're a walkabout fan, you're like, yeah, more. No, this is not walkabout mini golf. This is jankabout mini golf. It's horrible. It's you like tap it and the ball goes flying away. And they give you a golf scorecard. I'm like, why? Why are you giving me this? Because this is not fun. This is not skillful. You can't play with a second person anyways, so you're just whacking away on your own.
You're playing with yourself?
I'm used to this, right? But anyhow, the game it has ideas that are good. It has atmosphere that is good. The humor is quite adult, like I said. Like you go up to one of the rides and it's like, you must be this high to ride, and it's like a woman with her boobs hanging out, and it's like, and there's the line of like right at her nipple point and stuff, and it's like definitely got this like demented like side to it. Like you know, there's a ride you take later on, it's just a slow little boat ride, and there's like little kid dolls from like different cultures, like little Chinese dolls, like jumping off of the buildings with their heads burning, and they're screaming at you, and you have to like whack at them, and just very bizarre. There's a ride you take which made me laugh out loud. It's basically a pro drug ride, and it's just a bunch of stoned like squirrels and like bears, like in cartoons, like, don't do the hard drugs, kids. And there's like little squirrels with like syringes, and then you like actually end up having a drug trip, and you're like walking through parts of the park as it's like messing with you. And there's like, you like stumble across like an animatronic squirrel that's like died from an overdose, and there's a needle in its arm. Like,
Jesus.
Yeah, like there's times when the game goes hard. And it made me laugh. I was like, now you have my attention.
I guess so.
Like, you know, and the game is at its best when it's doing this dark, twisted sense of humor. It's at its least charming when it's doing just like, I don't know, like when you just have animatronic creatures kind of just charging at you in the world, and the combat, if you want to call it that, is just, you just whack it. You just whack about it with like whatever you either have a garbage can on your hand or the golf club. They tell you should use this as a weapon. And I'm like, okay, so I'll carry this. I should probably hold on to my golf club. And you just whack them till they die. Like eventually you just start going, and till their heads explode. Like combat just becomes irritating because they stay alive too long. And that's kind of the game. But there is this one point where you get into like it's like, I don't know, it's like where the airplanes would go like this as it would turn around, right, go in circles, and it goes up and down. And man, like you can put blinders on. I didn't have them on, and I was like, this is awesome. Like the sense of height. Also, the reprojection kicked in a little bit because it is using that, so which might be one reason why they don't have smooth turning on. But I will tell you, riding that ride, I was like, this is awesome. And when it's doing some of the fun rides, it's like kind of like, yeah, this is if the game had managed to dial in, like if the physics were right and the humor was on point and the game didn't control so jank, it would be fun to just walk around this park, mess around with shit, take in the humor, do the rides, enjoy some of the dialogue humor, and it'd just be this 2-hour little like VR gem of an experience. And one of the things that helps the game is that the graphics are quite decent. Like you jump into this game and it's like, this is not a Quest game. And I love that. I wouldn't say it's graphically amazing. You're not going to be like, oh my God, did Capcom make this? You know, what first party studio made this? But no, it looks quite good graphically. Like the textures and some of the lighting are really on point. The park itself just feels like it's got a very rich and detailed look. That's the big thing. It looks lived in and dated and abandoned. Like it feels like this creepy, gross, twisted park, and it lives on that atmosphere. And if I wasn't constantly click turning my way through the world, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. The frame rate, I am concerned that that's why there's no smooth turning. Like I feel like it's just getting by. I wouldn't say it wasn't like vomit inducing, but I wouldn't say it was the smoothest game. I could tell that it was just hitting those frame rates. So I don't know what patches are going to be in the future. Didn't look like it was using dynamic foveated rendering to get there. The fact that it's a PC game as well, I bet you it's not. But I did feel like there was reprojection when you started circling fast on the rides, but you don't notice that normally just based on the click turning and stuff. But it needs a patch badly. It really needs that control patch. Like my recommendation to people would be, like, I'm not going to give it a number score, but my recommendations with people would be to just keep an eye on this, maybe see if it gets patched, because like, especially if you're someone who really likes, smooth turning and click turning sucks and ruins the immersion for you, because it does for me. Overall, I would say that this is kind of a bit of a disappointment. I don't think it's a dumpster fire. I think some people, that's just people disgruntled because they had hype on this, and I didn't really have very high expectations. It was just that quirky game from the game show. That is my take on Happy Fun Not So Funland.